Ah, Mr. Freiberg. Come on in and take a seat. Let me know what's on your mind.
I've been doing a lot of thinking. A lot of thinking about my role in the...
Your role in the universe. A lot of people have this problem. I totally get it. The feeling that there is this distance between them and everything else. In Hinduism, this phenomenon is called Maya. It's the illusion that the self could be separate from itself.
Actually, I think,
therefore I am. It's a classic phrase by René Descartes, one of the founders of modern science. A strange character in many ways.
Yeah, thanks for that. I've got to go practice with my team.
Another patient cured. A little medicine for the doctor.
Brazil, home to Kogu, a saviour who hopes to fix the turmoil of the Kafkaesque Counter-Strike scene. Frank Kafka, of course, being the German language writer famed for his surreal fantasies. Can IBR pull off an absurd miracle and claim revenge over Germany's big? Speaking of rebuilds, it's been a long road for Virtus.pro as they make it all the way to Flashpoint through the Pinnacle Cup. Will they be the Time Bandits and recreate the form of their predecessors, or will OG find their holy grail and ascend the heights of the Tower of Babel? Joining me to find out the answers to so many of these questions, my wonderful analysts in the form of Potter and Duncan. An exciting day is ahead of us, Potter. I know we didn't actually get to spend too much time on the desk together yesterday, but are you looking forward to this one?
I am, and you're right. Yesterday was such a fast day, man. OG and Fnatic coming in hot, slapping around a little bit in that server, and just ending the day so quick. Today, I think it's going to be a little bit different. I think both these series should go the distance, potentially all three maps. So hopefully a little bit more competitive CS here today.
Sure.
And that's what's so important.
Did Anders actually help you with that intro? I see there's a lot of creative license going on around here now. It's getting a bit out of control.
We're spending a lot of time together,
yes, okay,
you know,
right.
It's kind of integrating into a lot of people's mentalities. But you know what, Anders, thank you very much for the intro. Absolutely incredible indeed. And with that, I think we can take a quick recap of our format as well, just in case you guys have missed out on any of the action. Of course, we have 3 groups consisting of 4 teams in each. We've got through the majority of the matches here to find out who will be going to the playoffs. Today is going to be all about that seeding going into the playoffs. But interestingly, we've also got our last chance qualifiers as well, which will be taking place tomorrow to find out the 2 remaining teams who will be making it through to the playoffs. That will be going down tomorrow when Gen.G will be taking on Envy and Dignitas will be taking on Falls. I'm interested to hear your guys' opinions of these. Are there any sort of glaringly obvious teams you think should be making it through to the playoffs?
I mean, I think the interesting one is after yesterday, where if you only watched the OG versus Gen.G game, you might think, has the Cinderella story ended for Gen.G? Actually, they've probably got just what the doctors order in terms of who they're facing, because they're facing the only 4th place team, arguably the worst team in the tournament, Envy. So I think they actually have a chance to win that. I think they'll still be part of the playoffs potentially.
Yeah, definitely. And especially because Gen.G had such a hot start in the beginning, right? Sure, a lot of these teams now have a lot of intel on Gen.G and seeing how they want to approach these rounds, but the amount of experience automatic the major winner has on that squad, Kusta, he's slotting in so well into that in-game leadership role. So I want to see how they face up against a whole nother different kind of opponent. I know they haven't faced Envy quite yet, so that should be a good one.
It's going to be an interesting one indeed. And of course, speaking about Gen.G, let's take a little bit of a recap of yesterday to see exactly how they got to this position. As the guys were alluding to, of course, it was OG managing to claim revenge for that earlier loss in the tournament to start themselves off. They managed to go 2-0 over Gen.G. But you were speaking about it, Thorin. You were saying that this surely should have been what we expected from Gen.G of the beginning, right? Considering that they have 2 standards on the roster currently.
I think even slightly better. Like, you look at this group, on paper they were supposed to be the obvious worst team because they had the stand-ins, and I mean the old Gen.G had their own issues ever since basically the spring. So the idea they not only beat OG, I think they're ranked like number 6 in the world coming into this tournament. They take a map off Virtus.pro. So far it's looked really good the whole tournament through. And then even in this series where they were playing against OG initially, like in the lower bracket, I think that was just a scenario of like they went into the same map again, OG made their adjustments, The Mirage game, like, I think actually it was just fraggy on that one. That was way closer than the 16-6 scoreline looked. So all in all, I think not only have they accounted for themselves well, they've overperformed thus far. And actually, like I say, I'm tipping them to go into the playoffs, just sneak through that last chance qualifier.
Yeah, it's definitely not down and out for them just yet. Of course, we will be seeing that play out tomorrow. But let's take a little bit of a recap of the other game that was going on yesterday in our Midsummer group. Of course, there was a murder that happened, but it didn't mean that anybody was down and out of the competition. We see Fnatic taking that crown in our Midsummer group. Of course, both of these teams will be going straight through to the playoffs. But interestingly, Christine, we've seen such a rivalry brewing between Mad Lions and Fnatic. And Fnatic looked incredibly convincing yesterday.
They did, and you know, J-Dubs coming in hot once again with another knife, shanking out Lions members in the server, and this is the style that I like to see coming out of Fnatic. Very confident and always slipping past, always finding some sort of hole. JW, relentless aggression. Flusha, his big brain came to play once again, so it was a dominant showing for them, and I don't want to say concerning for Lions because they're a learning team. I think all of these matches, this match experience with the 2 new members, a brand new in-game leader, it means a lot for a team like Lions. So again, this is an experience learning moment for them, and moving forward, I think Lions have what it takes to show some adaptations moving forward.
Yeah, how are you viewing Mad Lions at the moment, Duncan? Obviously, we've seen them take those 2 wins in a best-of-3s over Fnatic. This was the first one that Fnatic managed to take on their side. So how are you viewing them going forward in the competition?
I already think they've looked like one of the revelations of the tournament. Like, I have them right there with Virtus Pros. Like, how are they so good? I mean, the fact that they lost to Fnatic there is no shame, because not only did they beat them earlier in the same tournament, but then in the IEM, which was going on simultaneously, they also beat them there. Yep. So they're actually 2 out of the last 3 against Fnatic specifically. So Mad Lions looks very good. They've actually sort of recreated some of the formula from Flashpoint 1 in terms of they bring the new game leader in, seem to have adjusted to his system, different play, like Refresh seems like, I saw he was in half the highlights, even though it was a Fnatic win. So they're doing pretty well all in all. I thought actually this would be a big slugfest. I thought it should be Mad Lions who's motivated to try and win the group. If anything, Fnatic, you know, you're in the playoffs, maybe you mess around a little bit. But actually, I have to say, after the way that game went there, you know, you saw Flusha's highlight, it wasn't really that taxing for Fnatic. In fact, for Flusha, it was just fine.
You needed to slip that in there, didn't you,
I had to at some point, obviously. That wasn't even about Fnatic, but I just needed anything else I can do.
Anyway, moving on. We need to start off with something more lighthearted. Of course, we've got loads of games coming your way today. But I think with this, we need to be starting off with the Battle of the Brands. We had a little bit of a Tournament of Champions earlier on in the tournament. But this time, we're going to be taking 2 of the organizations and looking at them from different eras. So we're starting off with Fnatic 2009 versus Fnatic in 2014. Who is the winning lineup out of these ones, guys?
This is a tough one, actually. If you know the old school 1.6 one, that was a pretty good team as well. But then again, the 2014 was a banger as well.
It was a banger.
What are you feeling for this one?
I have to go with the 2009 Fnatic.
Yes.
I think that I just remember in those small little ballroom ESCA lands when these Fnatic guys started walking into the room, the atmosphere changed. Like, these guys were intimidating. They knew they were hot shit, and they showed it in the server. So I'm going with 2009 one here, just because in 2014 there were so many great teams, right? I mean, Fnatic, they stood out. They won majors, but there was very games. There was NIP, there was Na'Vi. The competition was stiff. They didn't stand out quite as much. So yeah, 2009 for me.
Yeah, I think I'd have to concur, because even though 2014 was an amazing team, and one of the things about that team was almost every player in it could have moments when they were the best, they all fit their roles, they could swap things up, they had a great map pool. The 2009 like things, they just blew you out the server. Like, these 3 players on the top of the score there, where it's Forest, Gox, and then Get Right down there, they were like legitimately like 3 of the top 10 players in the world, and they played for one team. So it was almost unfair when they would play against their opposition at the time.
Yeah, pretty nuts indeed. You mentioned it there, Christine, as well. Na'Vi was another name on your lips. I believe we can bring them up and have a look between the 2 organizations we're bringing up in 2010 and 2018. Which is the winner for you guys out of these selections?
Problem with this is now we're just going to look like mad boomers.
We're
because
such
for
boomers.
For this one, definitely, I'm afraid it has to be 2010. Like, listen, 2018 was basically like the simple electronic show, but 2010 was like, they're the one that won all the majors that year. They broke the prize winning record. This was another team where if you actually to construct like almost a perfect team, everyone fit their role, was so good in the big matches.
Yeah, and this was the lineup, the 2010 lineup, where it seemed like this team broke all the rules of Counter-Strike and were winning out duels that it was mind-blowing. Senya, that Tuscan clip where he jumps on the box with the USP, gets the ace. These were mind-blowing plays that the skill ceiling of all of Counter-Strike, it blew even the top players' minds. So it was amazing.
Well, we saw Forest and Get Right earlier. They're going to be appearing again as we're going to be moving over onto NIP from 2005 or 2012. I'm very interested to hear what you're thinking of this one, Duncan.
Problem with this one is, this actually looks like someone's trolling, because I'm going to tell you right now, that lineup is the one that actually mega failed, actually. This one never did anything any lands. I think they've got the wrong year. I think they mean like 2006 maybe, because that was like when they were very good. This lineup particularly here actually failed so badly that half of them went back to SK Gaming afterwards and became champions there. So I've got to give it to the one that never lost a single match, the 2012 NIP, haven't I? So I don't know if that was a trick question, but you'll never catch me out. Understand that. Understand on the Boomer stuff, you'll never catch me out.
Well, we've locked that one in. And let's move on over to Evil Geniuses, which is interesting, you know, for some of the people that are newer to the CS scene, might not be familiar that EG were actually an org way, way back when. 2009 versus 10 years later, 2019. Who's the winner out of this one?
This is a close one, actually.
This is easy for me.
You're going for 2019?
2019. I almost beat the 2009 EG on land.
Right,
Come
well, if
on.
you say it that way, then fair enough.
Lurkus remembers. It was in Mexico. I almost beat these guys on land. So I'm going with the 2019 EG just because, you know, NACS has always been kind of a meme. And ever since EG kind of came into the mix and started fighting back and saying, you know what, Liquid, you're looking a little lonely up there. We're going to bring a second NA team contender into the mix. So I got to go with the 2019 EG.
Yeah, to be fair, obviously by 2019 we're counting when they were in RG as well. They had like a lot of top fours that year. So yeah, the overall performance, like, yeah, they're one of the better teams in the world. I'll still give a little shout out to the 2009 one. Obviously had Lurpus in there from Finland. That was a team that like had dark horse status when they went to tournaments.
Yeah, and my favourite one to be rounding off this competition, it's going to be Very Games, a French CS fan at heart. A couple of names that are sort of spreading both across these lineups, of course, only 4 years difference between them.
Fire whoever wrote Existence's name wrong on the right there.
Oh,
You're
God.
fired. You'll never work here again.
Well, you've got to choose which one you're going to be cutting from this, 2009 or
Well, the thing about this
2013.
is, I will always say I very rarely ever watched Source and didn't do that as a plan. Like I only maybe like watched a final if I was at Copenhagen Games or something. So even though the 2013 was a very, very good team, and like they almost won the major that year, the first one, I've got to give it the 2009 one because that's the one where, in theory, they won like loads and loads of tournaments, like a bazillion lands in Source, and apparently they were like unbeatable. So I think just for historical reasons, I've got to give it to that one.
Yeah, same. And I think it was Very Games versus, it was a Dren and Volcanoes team in NA. It was the huge, big rivalry, and they had Europe, Very Games, and yeah, I'm going with 2009 as well.
Well, we'll lock that one in for you there, Christine. It's interesting looking back through some of these lineups, though, and actually seeing that some of these players are still playing in this tournament today. You've got the likes of Forest and Freiberg, obviously the former Dig lineup, a little bit of changes coming into this, but it's amazing to see these players still standing strong, especially Forest. You've got to give it to them.
Sure. Yeah. Well, one of the funny things people don't know about Forrest is, this is actually one of my real theories, is when he was at his peak, a lot of us who actually knew his practice habits were like, if this guy just had like the killer mentality, he could be even better. But I actually think that's probably what sustained him an extra 10, 15 years, because he's not someone who ever played like the 4 years where you just live and breathe the game totally, and then you're burned out though, like then you have to like take a break or you just go down into level of play. So he's taking a different route to being a legend, but I think as a result, longevity-wise, no one can beat him.
Well, unfortunately, we won't be seeing him in our first matchup. We will be seeing Big taking on MIBR. Monty had a chance to chat with syrsoN ahead of this one.
Well, now, I'm here with syrsoN coming in from Big. So, syrsoN, tell us, how have things been in Flashpoint for you so far? This is going to be a rematch of your earlier matchup versus MIBR, which you won 2-1. What are your initial thoughts on MIBR coming into this week of competition?
I think the Flashpoint tournament went really good so far for us. We went 2-0 in the group and qualified for playoffs. And now we have to play the seeding game against MIBR, and I think they're a really good team. They play structured, they play aggressive, and I think they are good at the moment for sure.
Were you surprised by how MIBR came together so quickly with this new roster? I know they've been boot camping over in Europe, but did you expect them to be so strong immediately right out the gate?
To be honest, I didn't expect that they are performing so well after that short time, but I think it's good. It's good for the Brazilian community. It's good for the Brazilian people who are watching the stream all the time. So yeah, they're looking promising for the future, I think.
So you guys won pretty easily in the 2 maps you did in that series, but you did drop Vertigo barely. Is there anything that happened on Vertigo that you guys are trying to correct for this next best of 3?
Yeah, for sure. We rewatched the game. We saw our mistakes. We saw what we did wrong there. We tried to fix it for today. I don't know if they pick Vertigo or if they pick a different map. But if they do so, if they pick Vertigo, we will show a better face than the game before.
Do you want the rematch on Vertigo? Do you want to show that you can actually take that map down?
I want to play another map against them because they often play Vertigo. I want to see how they perform on a different map. Maybe like Overpass or something. We will just see how it goes.
How would you evaluate your form now as Big? Because you guys got knocked out of IEM Beijing yesterday by Complexity. You're obviously still doing very well here in Flashpoint. Do you think that compared to the rest of your year, how would you evaluate your current strength?
We after the summer break we had some up and downs. After the break we won directly the remake tournament, and after that we had some downs, I think. But I think we're getting our shit together now, and we are climbing up the rankings again, I would say. Of course, it was hard that we got knocked out yesterday against Complexity. We should have won at least the second map, I think, or even Nuke, because we made a lot of mistakes. But it was it is. We just try to perform as good as we can. We try to keep in the top 5 as long as we can, and we will try to improve day for day, and we will still work hard as before. So we just keep our level up, and we try to be the best version of ourselves.
I'm going to have you predict the game that will be later today that you're not competing in to end this interview, syrsoN. So we do have OG playing against Virtus Pro. Probably going to be a very tight series with the current form of both of these teams. Who would you say is going to win that matchup?
I think OG will win.
Why?
2-1, I think. I think they're the better team than Virtus Pro, in my opinion. Of course, Virtus Pro had a long winning streak in the last month. I think they won like 15 games in a row or something. But I think OG they have the better players, in my opinion. But I think they will win, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. They have bounced back and won their last 2 matches 2-0 here at Flashpoint. Thank you very much for your time, syrsoN, and good luck today in your match versus MIBR. Yeah. Now back to the desk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monty. Always fantastic to get to hear from syrsoN ahead of this next matchup. And with that, we are going to be taking a short break. But when we are back, it's a grudge match for the ages, as MIBR will be hoping to claim revenge over Big.
Coming up next,
it's Big versus MIBR.
MIBR.
Stay tuned to Flashpoint 2.